Hello everybody and welcome on today's video. Today I'd like to do some work on this field maple forest. I already did some work. I grafted the branch here, so I filmed it. I'm going to show you this right now, and then we'll continue the work on this forest. It's now early spring, the buds are starting to swell, so it's time to do something about the pruning to get a nice, well distributed crown on this tree as fast as possible. So as you might see here, a part of this trunk died, and I'd like to have a branch here, so I'm going to graft this branch that I wanted to graft here, but that was a failure. I'm going to try to graft it here. So I'm just scraping away the bark a little, and we can see that here this is quite green, so that means that this is live, and here, yeah. So this is probably a spot that is okay to do the grafting. So I want the branch to come here, I want it to come up straight, and then maybe later I can bend it, but first of all it needs to grow. So yeah, I'm going just to make a hole here, drill a hole, and I think when I look at this it's going to be something like 5 millimeters will be okay. So let's do that. So I want to come in on an angle, but I'm going to slip away if I don't do a really straight start. So I can see that this is green. Okay, so let's make the angle now. Okay, now I can start and drill through. I'm almost there. So now I'm going to clean up a little the mess that I made. Like so. It's nice and flat. And now I need to stick the branch here through the hole. That's why you want to make the hole a little too big. The more buds you can put through, the better, of course. But you will see if you do something like that, especially on a maple, you are going to lose buds. Okay, so I don't think I can go more than this. So it will have to do. I'm just going to take a little piece of wire to give this shoot already a basic direction. It's just a little guy wire, so nothing fancy. Like so. I want it to grow up. And another thing you can do now is make this hole a little tighter, so I'm going to take a piece of wood and insert this. So this is just a little wooden pin, very small, but if you put it, I'm gonna put it somewhere at the top and in the back. Oh, I lost it. So here I'm gonna push it in. So what will this do? Well, it will put the branch tight against the side, and then of course when this wound starts to close and when this branch starts to fill, there will be faster contact between the two parts, and we will have a better graft. Okay, well, to be continued. So here we have the grafted part, and I scraped away some bark here. You see that the surroundings of the graft are still nice and green, so that means that this is looking good. Yeah, so it should heal quite well. So the surface on this tree is looking rather good. I've been cleaning it up a little, and some trees really have nice radial roots, like this one. I think in a forest it's also important to have trees with good roots. And maybe I can dig a little more and show some of these roots. And probably I'll repot this forest next year, because you see, if you move one tree, it's not completely set. And there's one thing that stops me from repotting this tree, which makes me a little bit anxious. It's the whole rock formation. You see, I made this quite complicated rock formation, which I like a lot, and the wall here allows me to build up this whole landscape. But yeah, if I have to repot this tree, it's going to be a very difficult job to recreate this. So maybe when the weather gets really nice and I don't have any more repotting and trimming to do, I might start a little project with cement pots and cement trays. And I've been watching a whole lot of videos on that, and it's really inspiring. Now the problem is that much of these videos with cement pots are coming from really warm countries like India, Pakistan and so on. And these guys that make they're real artists, but I'm a little bit afraid of the climate here, because, well, in these warmer countries they don't have the winters that we have, and I fear that cement pots here might really crack easily. And well, yeah, I don't know. Well, anyway, the clay pots do crack also, just mica pots don't crack, but I cannot make mica pots. So it should be a good idea to try to look at some of these roots. Anyways, scraping the surface is always a good idea, because it loosens everything and it makes the water easier to penetrate. But I'm not going to bore you with that. Let's do some trimming. So there are 15 trees in this forest, and well, it's been there now for more than a year and it's growing quite well. I have tons of new little buds here, and of course I'm going to let them grow, especially here, because I need some branching here. But I can reduce the top of this just a little, and I have a big stump here, and I'm just going to cut it back so that the stump can heal, like so. Here we have already a whole lot of nice ramification. I'm going to do some directional pruning here, just leaving this bud so that it will grow this way. I can trim back this, and I will have to do some trimming on the top because these maples, they really grow a whole lot on the top, and before you know it, the whole tree is not in balance anymore. So I'm going to leave the branches at the lowest parts mostly untouched, but I'm going to remove a little wire that I put here. When you wire or unwire, try to always support the branch, okay, like so. This is a good branch, but it's getting a little long, so I'm going to trim it back to here. And here. Same for this part. And then here at the lowest part, here I have two branches at exactly the same spot, and even a third one, this little one here. So I'm not going to use this. And this one is going directly in the back, so I prefer this one. And we have here, this is very typical of maples, these branches. So there's a little one here, don't need that. I don't need the little bud here, and I'm going to trim back the rest. This is a strange angle, but yeah, let's get rid of it, like so. I was afraid of this little tree. I thought he wouldn't make it, but he did. So he's quite weak, and yeah, I'm just going to remove this branch that is in a very bad spot. It's going, and this, well, okay, let the tree grow. So this little tree is also quite interesting. We have a whole lot of little buds here at the bottom, which of course are much too low, so you cannot use that. We have a new shoot from last year that's doing well, and this is the back of the tree, so this is a good branch. This is a good branch too, but I'm going to cut it back a little so that these buds are more likely to open. This is on the side. Gonna shorten that here, and then we have the apex of this tree. Let me zoom in a little. So this is kind of cool. I have a little bud here that is in the perfect position to become a new apex. So I'm not going to use this one anymore. I don't know. No, I'm going to keep this one because it's pointing to the viewer, and I'm going to remove this little one. So, well, change my mind, happens, and remove all the buds at the top. So going to remove some dead material. And here we have a whole lot of little buds And I'm going to make a selection so the ones straight to the front can be removed. I have 3 in a row here, so I'm going to keep 1. And this is a little dead stump. I think I have 2 buds here, but I'm just going to remove 1 with my finger. Okay. This tree is number 3 as the biggest tree, and it's a really nice tree. The wound here is closing very well. And it will take only a couple of years before it is completely closed. But now I have to do something about the top part here, because it's a well-growing tree, which of course is very nice. But if I don't start to prune this back, I'll have troubles keeping the tree balanced. So this is really I'm going to get rid of the dead stumps here, and here I have too many buds. Reduce the top a little. This is dead. I think that this is dead, yeah. And then we have the typical buds coming from below, which you have to keep an eye on, because, well, they're not gonna help. Little bud here, right under a big branch, so you want the big branch, not the small one. Okay, the main tree. Main tree, I've been wiring it because I don't have any branches here in the front. It would be nice to have a branch here, something like that. But hey, I don't have it, so what you're gonna do? Well, probably graft one. But first I need my pliers to remove this wire here. So on deciduous trees I don't like to leave the wires, and even if it bounces back, which it's doing right now, it's not completely fixed, well, I prefer to get it off. Because if you leave it on and it marks the branch, well, you're in trouble for quite some time. Now, this branch is a good branch, but it's directly above this tree here, so it's preventing this tree to get light. So I'll have to make a rather big cut here. So, and I see that I have 2 buds here. Now it might be interesting to keep these buds, because if they start to grow vigorously, they will probably fill the spot here that I like to be filled. So for the rest, there's not a whole lot on this tree. We have the big top, which is not 100% healthy, so just not going to touch too much here. Just remove the branch in the back a little, shorten it. Okay. This is the back branch of the main tree, and as you can see, it has 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 branches that are emerging, and that's not what we want, of course. Some of these are going right to the inside, so I'm just going to keep 2. This branch is a problem because I think it is way too low for this tree, but I'm going to keep it. Just going to remove the buds growing down, because if this tree does not make any branches, I will probably use some of the shoots here as a graft. This is the number 2 tree regarding the height. So again, getting away everything that grows down, the extra buds under the branches, so typical of maples. Going to keep just 2 buds, and that's going to be it. Here we have, well, strange directions, not good. I'm going to remove that. Maybe we'll have some new buds here, so that's better. And then we have the little tree here, which is, well, not a spectacular tree and not really growing that well, so I'm not going to do a whole lot on this one. Let him recover. And then we have this one. That's a whole lot of top. Well, I'm going to reduce that a little. This branch is growing completely towards the tree, so I don't want that. For the rest, this is a very small tree, quite weak, and so I'm not going to trim a whole lot of that. So this one, the same, is not completely fixed. So these are quite fragile trees. And then we have this little one with a very nice root base. It's air layered. Well, they are all air layered. If you want to see how it happens, there's a video on it. And we have the little buds here. So doing a selection, this is going to be an eye poker. So I'm going to leave the little one here. These are on the same height, so I don't need branches growing to the inside, and I think that's good. So I finished the trimming. I did some more off camera because I know that at a point it becomes a little, well, boring, and I probably missed a few spots, but that's not a big problem. You see, I completely missed this. Yeah. So yeah, I know that it becomes a little boring to see every little tree cut back. So this is where we are now. Give you a little 360. See, most of the trees are leaning in the right direction. This tree here, I didn't trim it too much because it's quite small and it could use a few centimeters more. Maybe I'll just get the top off, because all these buds are swelling, and if I let the top grow, well, I'm not going to have any branches, and you see this tree doesn't have any branches, so that's not good, of course. And I might even do a bud selection, so this is going to the inside. And maples, they always form 2 branches, so if you do a bud selection, it is better. So I'm going to remove one of the 2. Of course, the others will grow more strongly then. So this is gonna be it. So now it has to grow. It's always nice to see them explode in spring, and then I will let it grow wild for a couple of weeks, and maybe at the end of May I can do some cutback and then get some new growth on other spots. So we're not there yet, and in the meantime, well, thank you for watching and see you next time.